Velrisa.
Mm-hmm.
After the last memories you have, the last things that hit your vision, as you're pulled away from the party, as the spikes pierce through your sternum and pull you back towards this horde of these dwarven cultists of some sort. The last thing you see is one of them looking down on you with a very vicious smile before he stomps down heavy towards your throat and face, and then you black out. Upon awakening, you're surrounded by these rusted iron bars, as I said earlier, and there's this older dwarven man standing in front of you wearing the same similar hooded robes that the rest of them are wearing. This one, however, he has it pulled back. You can see more of his features. The large bulbous nose in the front of his face. You can see a lot of the pits and the parts of the acne and the deterioration of his face. You can see the elderliness that he has. He seems to be very ancient, especially for a dwarf. Other than that, his eyes are very dark gray and they're quite piercing even in this darkness. Matching that as well is his hair and beard, both graying. He stands there with his hands behind his back, smiling at you in the cage. And the words he said to you before, I'll recap that. He said, they brought me a pretty one this time.
I kind of like observe my surroundings. I imagine my vision's pretty blurred.
Yeah, your vision, you have heavy double vision as you're coming back. The tinnitus in your ears, the ringing in your ears it starts to finally subside, and as your vision comes to, you look around and your eyes adjust to the darkness. There's very few torchlights. You can see them through the iron barred windows of the door behind the man. Other than that, the room you're currently in is pitch black. Cold, dark cobblestone fills the walls, the ceiling, and the floor. There's no decorations. It seems to be some kind of jail cell. And then inside the jail cell, you are in another smaller cage. For some reason, they seem to be putting you down in heavy, heavy lockdown. As you go to move as well to look around, you feel immediate resistance on your wrists. And as you look down, you see that your wrists are shackled by these large, heavy iron shackles. And then they are attached to the left and then right side for each arm of the cage you're currently in.
Why have you captured me?
You see, you're what we've been looking for.
And what have you been looking for?
And then he starts to reach his hands through the bars to try to stroke your face as he leans down.
You see, your body's quite special, ain't it?
In what way?
Well, you see, we need a sort of sacrifice. We need a vessel, a body that can handle this extra Br'aad blood. And you seem right fit for the job. Oh, no, don't worry. It will be painful.
And what is this job?
Job? Oh, there's no job for you.
No,
There's no choice for you.
What is it that you're trying to accomplish with me?
Why would I reveal our secrets to you, love?
You're already gonna sacrifice me.
Persuasion check.
I didn't think I'd use my dice. I don't know why. Okay.
Oh fuck, I'm using dice in D&D shit.
Oh fuck.
Fuck. 2319, we have the dice.
9 plus 3, 12.
12.
Well, if you're so curious, the Queen has a very, very special role for you. You see, we have this ancient weapon. The Queen designed it herself, what her family did, that is, many years ago. It's called Zothril, or in your tongue, the Pillar of Forbidden Knowledge. It's, difficult to explain, especially to somebody as dim-witted as you might be. But essentially, to create a blood fusion strong enough to fuel the device, it takes a concoction, multiple different bloods from multiple different races. We put them together and they use that to fuel the device. But that's not all it needs. The blood has to pump into something. It has to go somewhere. And that's where your beautiful body comes in.
He starts to stroke his thumb down your chin very slowly.
I told the king I would help him. I said I'd give him blood.
The king? Oh, the king. That dim-witted fuck. You really think he knows anything about this?
He told me he needed my blood for research.
Oh, yes, research. That's what we told him. That's exactly what we told him. But then you didn't give it. So we had to step in, and we had to push the needle right into the spot.
I'd only just left to go on a mission for him. When I
We're rather impatient, Velrisa. We need this blood as soon as possible. You know the dangers that are coming to this land. You know of Ungaro. This device will stop him. This device was created by the dwarves of ancient time solely to stop him, and him alone.
And you plan on using me and sacrificing me?
Oh, it's just one life for the sacrifice of many. Killing you now, I mean, it will save thousands. Even more, maybe. It depends on how big the downfall is, the catastrophe.
And you're telling me you couldn't have thought of anything better than to kill me?
What do you mean? This is the only way the device can work. We need a body that can handle the blood. We need one like yours. Infernal. Tainted. There's no point in fighting back or resisting. You're already here. You're already ours.
Where is here?
Where is here? Oh, you're just deep in the mountains. A little hidden location, we'll say. Courtesy of the queen.
And at this point, he starts to lean back and stand up fully straight. And then he turns, puts his hands back behind his back and starts walking towards the door. And he goes,
"One more thing."
and then he turns slowly, so just one of his eyes pierces at you through the darkness, looking back at you.
Don't even think about trying to escape. Our Warforged are walking these halls, just waiting for one of you to fuck up.
And with that, he pulls out a very large rusted key and opens the door with it, slamming it hard behind him and locking it once more. After that, his face leaves from the window, and you hear his heavy footfall echoing down the hallway, heading towards the left, away from the door. And then it fades, and then it's silent. You're left in the cage. You're left with these shackles digging into your wrists. You can feel the metal just causing this sort of rash. You can feel it rubbing against all the grit, all the rust just cutting into your skin. What do you do? Your wrists are bound, but your hands are still free. This means as a spellcaster, you can still cast magic.
Mm-hmm.
You are restrained in the sense that you cannot move from this spot, but your hands are still free. You can move your hands around. You have a limit to how far you can reach outwards from the length of the chain. The lengths of the chain are only about 5 or 6 feet or so. So you can lean forward and reach out a bit, but you can't even touch the bars directly in front of you. The bars to your left and right, you can easily lean over and grab those, but the front bars that the man was leaning through, you're just out of grasp of those.
Okay. Did they take any of my equipment or anything? Or can
for your equipment, you still have your cloak. They didn't remove your cloak or your lantern, but your shield, your warhammer, and your armor are currently gone, so unequip those.
Okay.
But you still have your cloak and you still have your lantern. They did not take those. And for the rest of your stuff, they took your crossbow, your bolts, but they left, I'm pretty sure, everything else. Let me double check what you have to make sure that should be. Yeah, that's all they took.
Right.
Everything else you still have on you.
So I can touch the bars to my left and right, you said?
To your left and right, yes. And you can also touch the shackles with your opposite hand. So like your right hand can touch the left shackle and your left hand can touch your right shackle.
Okay.
Your hands themselves aren't bounded. They're grabbing you by the wrist, not by the hands at all. Your hands are fully free. You can grab a hold of the chains as well. You can grab pretty much anything around you that's not the front bars in front of you. Where also that's where the exit of the cage is. That's where the small gate, the small lock gate is as well.
Mm-hmm. Can I examine the shackles and chains? And
sure, make a investigation check for me.
19 plus 1, so 20.
20. As you look at them, you can tell, once again, they're very rusted. They're very old. They don't seem necessarily brittle, per se, but you can tell they're definitely weaker than a newer chain would be.
Yeah.
You think to yourself that you might be able to somehow break these, whether it be with magic or pure strength.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to try enhance ability with bull strength.
Enhance ability, bull strength? Okay.
And then I'm going to try to see if I can maybe pull on the chains and see if it's weak enough to maybe break it.
Okay, so go ahead and make that strength check with advantage.
That's 19.
19. As you cast enhance ability, you feel the archonic wave, this magical feeling, this emotion, this mana. It pulls starting from around your pectorals, and it pulls down towards the it pulls down towards the shoulders. My fucking voice just cracked like crazy there. It starts at your pectorals, and it pulls down towards your shoulders. From there, you can feel it course down the biceps to the forearms. Every vein, every muscle starts to feel like it's slowly widening out. You can feel the muscles just contracting outwards, not contracting, concaving outwards. And with that, you pull once, just flexing your elbows and your biceps forward, and you feel the chains come right off the bars to the left and right, and you pull the chains off. The shackles are still on your wrist with the chains falling off of them, but the chains have snapped off of the sides of the cage, giving you freedom of movement.
Okay.
You can take the shackles off if you wish, but they're currently just on your wrist with the chains dangling off.
I'll leave those on for dramatic effect.
All right, cool.
So now that I have full access to the cage now, the small one.
Mm-hmm.
Can I look above me? How high is like the ceiling?
As you look up, the ceiling itself actually isn't that high. Well, the ceiling for the cage you're in is just above your head, and you're currently on your you're pretty much at this point would be on one knee and a single foot.
Yeah.
And at this point, still the roof of the cage you're in is only about 6 inches or so from the top of your head. But past that, you can see the actual roof of this building, this room, and that looks to be probably about another 7 feet or so above you.
Right.
So not super tall, but it has a decent amount of height.
Okay. Can I look around? Can I investigate the cage and see if I can see anything interesting about it? The one I'm in, above.
Yeah, make another investigation check for me then.
14.
14. As you glance around the cage, inside the cage there's nothing except for in the very back right corner behind you, you see what looks like the decaying parts of bones, like powdered bone dust, where bones have started to slowly rot away and just reduce to nothing but this small, almost ashy-like material.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that is sort of coating that back part of the cage, and it's leaving this very heavy metallic scent in the air. This very heavy, it smells almost like burnt metal.
Right. Okay. So, can I?
Other than that, though, in front of you there is this small gate that leads out of the cage, but it is locked.
Mm-hmm.
But the cage itself also seems to be pretty rusted, similar to the chains and the shackle. So you don't think the lock is probably insanely strong.
Yeah.
But you don't know exactly how you'd break it open.
Okay, it's
or maybe you do.
That area with the bone dust and everything, could I where it's coated around there, could I cast Sacred Flame on the bars to heat them up?
Sure, yeah. Go ahead and you'll automatically hit because it can't make a dex save.
Yeah.
So just go ahead and roll 2d8 plus 4.
8.
The bars make a dex save and fucking just move out of the way.
I got 20 damage.
20 damage? As you look over, first of all, at this point as well, now that you're casting spells vocally and trying to be quiet about it, let's go ahead and let's make a stealth check as well.
12.
12? Okay, that's fine. Good. Just keep that in mind. It's 12. You cast Sacred Flame against that side, and you see the bars start to turn red hot, and some of them even start to bend out of the way a bit, leaving just enough of a gap between the bars where they kind of melt and deform, where you could possibly squeeze your body through, but it's going to be a tight fit.
With the bars hot, could I reach above the part that's heated up and see if I can pull it apart a little bit more?
Yeah, make another strength check for me. And you still have your bull's endurance, so you should still have advantage.
I got a 3 and then a 4, so 5.
As you pull as hard as you can, even with the bull's strength, you still cannot get any sort of busting off this bar. No, nothing falls loose, nothing comes loose at all as you pull and tug on it.
Okay, well, then the deformity I've made, I'll attempt to squeeze through that.
Okay, I'll need you to make a dexterity check for me as you squeeze through.
13.
13, not bad. You squeeze through. It's very tight. Once you get to about your lower breast area, as you're pushing through, you can really feel it squeezing against your skin and pulling the muscle and flesh down as you're kind of pulling yourself through. It's not hot enough at this point after the spell to do any sort of burning to you, as you made sure it cooled down before you pushed through. But you managed to just squeeze your way through and get out. As you step foot, you finally stretch your legs. As you stand up, you feel your knees crack. You feel the muscles of your hamstrings really start to feel this really weird soreness that starts to pulsate from the center of them. And you get this feeling like you've been cramped in that cage for longer than you thought.
So now I'm in a larger cage with a...
You're pretty much in like a dungeon cell. It's just... the walls, the ceiling, the floor, it's all just cold, dark cobblestone. There's no decorations, there's no beds, there's nothing else in the room except for a wrought iron wooden door. So a wooden door with like iron fortifications on it, and then a big iron barred window on the top of it.
Okay, I'm gonna approach the door and see if I can look through the window.
Okay. You approach the door, looking through the window, and with your passive perception, which is fucking... as you come to the window and you listen through, you begin to hear voices speaking far off to the left. You can hear the dwarvish accent, and you recognize one of them being the guy you just spoke with, and they're actually speaking in common. The other guy says to him, he says, so, how's the new inmate, Gulder? And he goes, she's all right, beauty. It'll be a damn shame when we have to cut her open. And then you hear both of them kind of just cackle to themselves for a couple of seconds, and then the other dwarf, the one you didn't meet, goes, it's a damn shame we have to kill the pretty one, but if any of those other bastards try to come and get her, then I'm not worried. We can kill them all where they stand. Yeah, aye. With our army, they don't stand a chance. And then you hear the other guy kind of, he lets out a small snicker and goes, for the glory of the queen. Aye, for the glory of the queen. And then you hear their footsteps start to walk away from each other.
I attempt to just see if the door opens.
The door is locked. You saw the guy who now you've heard his name. His name is Gulder, apparently, according to the other dwarf. He locked it with a very big iron key as on his way out after he slammed it. You can actually see the size of the keyhole. You can even peer through it. It's about the size of like, I'd say probably 4 inches, 5 inches long, and it's quite wide. You can easily peer through it and see straight through. It's not a very insanely complex lock, but you can tell it's a lot sturdier than the rest of the stuff in this room, like the chains and the cage itself. This lock seems to be a much more sturdier, much more newer.
So can I examine the keyhole and maybe see like how intricate it is?
Yeah, make an investigation check again for me. Give me a lot of investigation checks. Probably in this
11.
session. 11. It's hard to tell its exact complexity. You're also not very avid when it comes to like lock picking and like locks in general. But you can tell it doesn't seem to be insanely complex, but it seems to be pretty well fortified. You think maybe there could be a way for you to break it, but you don't know. But you don't think brute force itself could possibly break it.
And around the room, and you said it's just cobblestone.
Like the walls, ceiling, floor is all just like cold, dark cobblestone, just little brick stone. Nothing else even in the room. No beds, no shit buckets, nothing. It's just a bare room aside from the cage that you crawled out of.
Okay. Could I use a divine intervention?
Divine intervention, yeah. So you trust.
I don't know how it works.
Yeah. I got you. So you roll a D100. Do you know how to roll D100s? Yeah, the D10 and then the D100 at the same time. Yeah, just roll that for me.
It would be, I have 0, 0, and 3.
So 0, 0, 3 that should be 3. So you call upon a divine intervention as you peer at this lock, not being able to understand how you could possibly break through it. You once again look back through the iron bars. You don't hear anybody coming around. You don't see anything. You don't see anything around the room that can assist you. You turn, putting your back to the wall against where the door is, and you start to slowly slide down, holding onto your holy symbol, closing your eyes and requesting the aid of Ouijas. A few seconds pass as you keep your eyes closed, just clutching onto it, hoping something happens, hoping to hear something. And then her voice breaks through the darkness. As you open your eyes, hearing this soft voice, you see her standing before you in a different room. You are sitting in the very, very small circular room. Ouija standing in front of you, looking down on you as you're still sunken to the floor. And behind her is a small podium, almost like a well. The way this small circular platform just juts upwards out of the floor, with a hole in the center. But instead of any sort of water in there, the hole is projecting a beam of light a few feet out of the hole, almost like a mirror of white light protruding from the hole. Ouija looks down on you, and she says, "You come to me while you still have a debt to pay."
That is correct. These people, they've captured me, and they say they want to sacrifice me, and I could not pay off my debt if they were to sacrifice me.
Well, when you're right, Velrisa. If you truly want to atone for your actions, then you surely can't die here.
But how? And then she starts to sort of walk around you, stepping around, just sort of pacing. You can see as she steps, the long black dress she has, the parts of the skirting, looks almost like a spider's web when she walks. You can see the fibers stretch out, revealing small holes in between like a webbing. She walks around you, almost clicking her nails together.
Now, how do I help you?
If you could just provide any insight or anything to get me through this.
I suppose I can give you something. But I want you to know that this is the last offering I can give to you. This is the last favor I will give you until you atone for your sins. Do you understand this?
I understand completely.
Good. And then she turns to face towards. She doesn't fully turn her body. She kind of just like turns like shoulders, like upper body, to look towards the light behind her, that sort of mirror-like beam of light. And then she waves her hand towards it. And almost like a mirror or a window, you begin to see clearly through it. You see Onder. You see Onder sitting there at his table, drinking a large tankard of, you assume, mead. You know how much he enjoyed mead. As he's sitting there, all of a sudden his body jolts. You see his entire chest, the muscles spasm forward, and his eyes begin to glow with this bright white light. And then his mouth, you can see his brow begin to furrow, and his mouth comes agape, and he looks straight towards you through the mirror. He goes,
Velrisa! Velrisa, where are you?
Onder, I'm trapped in this prison cell. I've called upon Ouijas for help, and I need some help. I need anything.
He begins looking around frantically. He goes,
Ouijas, give me guidance. Give it to me now.
and he begins grabbing the large greatsword on his back. You can see the way he's gripping the handle. You can see the whites of his knuckles, how hard he's gripping onto it. He stands up, and you see his large stone gauntlet come straight towards the light, and he punches the mirror in between you guys, and you see it shatter. And as it shatters, it just comes back into the blank white light. Ouija turns back to look at you, and she just smiles.
The door for you is unlocked. I would suggest being very, very cautious. Don't try to necessarily escape yet. Get out of that cell. You've already broken the cage. They're already going to want to punish you. Escape from that cell. Find somewhere in that compound to hide away. Let Onder come for you. Let him gather your friends.
Thank you, Ouija. The next time I speak to you, the next time I call for you, I will have my sins atoned for. I promise.
And as you say that, the vision slowly fades, and as it's almost just like a transition in front of you. The vision in front of you fades back to the room, the dark cobblestone room. You still sunken down to the floor. As you stand up, you look to your left, and you see that the door is wide open. Stepping out of it, you look down your left, you look down to the right. You see countless doors that look like these. You see hallways protruding left and right, curving forks in the road. It looks almost like a labyrinth as you look around all these different turns just in this small hallway. You take a deep breath in, a deep breath back out. You clutch your lantern and you begin to step forward. Very, very stealthily moving yourself through this compound. And that is where we're going to leave Velrisa for now.